So in today's video, I'm going to make some storage up there to house all of this here. So yeah, let's get some storage made. Why are lofts so goddamn scary? Let's make them less scary by putting some light up there. So for lighting in the loft, I've already unboxed this. It's from Costco. It's an LED 4-foot batten. What I like about this is that it actually plugs into the mains rather than has to be wired in, because I'm not an electrician. I don't know how to wire in lights. So this is the Costco light and this is the 10-meter cable. So the hope is that this is going to stretch and then we just need to drop down every time I'm in the loft getting the Christmas decorations. We'll see how that works. Just need to... Oh, there's loads of wire left. That's brill. So, now I know I don't need to get an electrician to wire a light into the loft. I'll just tidy up the cables once I've secured the light. I'm just going to hold it in place there for now until I do the boarding. And then I'll fit the light properly once there's some boards to stand on so I don't fall through the ceiling. So yeah, now that I know the wire's going to fit, once the light is secured, what I'll do is I'll just tidy it up and sort of have it there ready on a hook or something. And then every time I need to go in the loft, it can just hook off, pull down, plug in, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. Buzzing. To begin with, I'm going to roll back the insulation to see where the beams are lying. I know where I can attach to and be safe. So first and foremost, PPE. Now I want eye protection, lung protection. Definitely there's going to be loads of microfibers from the insulation floating around up there, which I do not want in my lungs, and skin protection. So I've got covered arms, covered legs, long socks, because quite frankly insulation is itchy as anything and it just irritates your skin, so I don't want that one up there. I want to be as comfortable as possible. She says that she's going to be crouched down for the next few hours, but yeah, let's show you what we're working with. Now it's a new build home, so plenty insulation, obviously to pass building standards now. We don't want to flatten this down because then it loses its efficiency, so I'm just going to roll it back gently, see where all the beams lie and where I can raise some boards for storage. Now, whoever said DIYing couldn't be sexy? Hey? Look, I'm steaming up, I'm that hot. Let's do this. Wow, I've looked better. I am sweating, but I'm going to show you why. You will not believe how much room there actually is once you get all that insulation out of the way to see what you're actually working with. Look at this. Look at all that space. So now that the insulation's been rolled back, you can see what you're working with, where you can put boards, where you can avoid wires. So this is a big enough space to work with for the time being anyway. I've built a wall of insulation over that side, so couldn't do that side anyway. If anyone's interested to know, this is a UK new build. The difference with new builds is that they are built with trussed lofts now, which is where your beams or your trusses are going like this. Old houses are built with sort of joists and rafters where you end up with more space. You can walk around and there's not like things blocking your way, but the new way to do it is these trussed roof designs. That's what makes it more difficult when you come to board it. So traditionally when people would board lofts, they would just roll sort of insulation within these 600mm gaps and then board straight on top of these joists here. However, that doesn't now adhere with guidelines of having at least 240 to 270mm of insulation, hence there being so much rolled back, because there's like 2 if not 3 layers of insulation in here, which is why my house is hot in the winter, holds the heat well, and quite cool in the summer. The insulation's doing its job, so I don't want to go and flatten it down, lose its efficiency, and therefore pay more for my energy bills. I want to keep it as fluffy as possible. So because of that, some people will use timber to then put joists this way along, so that you've got a row of insulation underneath, you've got joists along there with rows of insulation there, and then you put your boards on top. I'm wanting to do sort of like a platform along here to utilise the sort of taller space, so I need to sort of sit down and draw and figure out how I'm going to achieve that. So I'm just planning out where I'm going to put my loft zone stilts and beams. The kit that I ordered is not enough, so I've ordered one more kit, which could be up to 7 days for delivery. So I'm not going to be able to do it all in one whack as I'd hoped, but I'll get as much done as I can. I'm going to start in that corner and then work outwards. So I'll probably only get a little bit done before I have to stop because I run out of beams. I'm going to stick down some boards just for ease of walking on for the time being, but obviously that's not how they're going to stay. I'm just going to place them down. So now that I've had my Loft Zone UK delivery, I can crack back on with the boarding out of the loft. I've just left it as it was the last time I was filming. So behind me, what I've got, if I just turn this around, is the metal beams that come as part of the Loft Zone kit. Some of the plastic stilts. There's 2 different types, like a sort of triangular stilt, and then also like a supporting upright stilt. And then I've also just got some timber as well, because the beams aren't going to be long enough for certain areas that I need to sort of bridge across, which I'll explain that when I'm up there and doing it. So I'll get all this in the loft and we'll go from there. I'm glad it is cold up there because it's going to cool me down after carrying all that from downstairs, upstairs, and then upstairs to the loft. So the Loft Zone system does come with its own instructions. If you're using it for the first time, definitely refer to the instructions, but I'll also sort of put up on the screen as I'm doing different things, especially if it's in a time lapse, how to do it, the recommendations, the spacing and all that kind of technical stuff. So I'll go up there now and I'll start to space out where I'm going to position all of my legs and beams before I commit to securing them, so you can sort of get an idea of how you lay out this Loft Zone kit. So if you can remember, well, you will remember, because when I make this video it'll just be a carry on for you. If I remember, this is the stilton I got done the last time with the Loft Zone kit. Obviously I had to stop there because I ran out of legs and beams, so now that I've got more kit to play with, I'm going to mirror the same that I've done at that area over in this area. And then the reason I've got extra timber is because obviously the leg system is great on open areas, but because I've got a trussed roof, which explained all these crazy diagonal beams, which are just a nightmare, but never mind. These legs will not sort of get in near the middle there, and I would not want such a length of loft board to reach from like Loft Zone beam there all the way over there, because that's quite a distance, weakening the board and therefore more chance of falling through if you were walking on it. At least I'm not going to be storing anything massively heavy up here, just Christmas tree decorations, etc. However, I will be walking on it from time to time, so I want to be safe. So these beams are literally going to be attached to these bits, level with the metal beams on that side and the metal beams to be installed on this side, so that's more for the board to sit on, more security, safer. That's the idea anyway. So on the legs there's a lip. Now it can essentially go any side, but if you've got something like wires across, which is an obstacle, it wouldn't be flush against there or very secure. So in this case you have to use the lip on this side so that everything else stays nice and flush, and then literally just secure in place. And the same on the other side. And then you can test it and that's not going anywhere. Another important thing to remember is the metal beams will only slide onto these, so you need to know where you're going to put your legs to correspond with your beams. You wouldn't be able to just add legs once your beams are up because you can't get them underneath. I'll show you the shape. Underneath is like got lips like that, so the only way they go on is like to be slid on. You wouldn't be able to put them up once the beams are already in place, if that makes sense. So I've now mirrored that side to match that side, and the next step is to get the timber and attach it to these central vertical beams so that the boards can sit across and have something in the middle to support and rest on. Obviously you can't put stilts and beams in this centre bit because of the way the beams have been cut on the diagonal. There's nowhere for legs to sit, hence using the timber for this middle bit as a support. that's all the raised beams fitted across now. The next thing to do is to roll back the insulation underneath every beam, and then the boards I'll attach on top. Obviously I'll need to jigsaw out different areas so that the boards lay flat, but that's essentially the foundations at this side done. So to get this bit to fit in there, I'm going to have to jigsaw out where these beams and rafters and whatchamacallit are. Well guys, it has been a minute since I was last up here. It won't seem like it for you because the videos will just continue on. The last thing I filmed doing, I think, was the cutting out with the jigsaw for the boards to sit in around the beams. But then unfortunately my grandma was took in hospital, so the project went on hold whilst we visited her, made sure she was on the mend, and fingers crossed she's on the mend. Touch wood, she's going to stay on the mend and not get poorly again. So whilst I know she's better, let's crack on with the loft boarding. So this is where I got up to. I'd cut out a couple of bits with the jigsaw and yeah, we got this far. So let's get cracking, boarding as far as I can before I need to roll out more insulation, because that's double thickness there. This is only single thickness so far. So I've put the next lot of full boards in, that's now as far as I can go, because we've now got more obstacles that we'll need cutting out with the jigsaw. But before I go and cut out those, I've quickly just hand sawn a couple of 3-foot pieces of timber, because what I've decided to do is in the middle there on this one, I'm gonna put them under there like that. It's just an extra bit of support for those raised stilts that are created across the middle there. And then obviously because this only goes to here, that couldn't be attached in there. I mean, although it's solid, I'm also going to do the same, but obviously on the other side, just for a bit more strength, a bit more peace of mind, because this is the tallest part, so this will be the highest traffic area. When I say traffic, I just mean me getting Christmas decorations, etc. in and out. But I don't want to fall through the ceiling, so let's make it as strong as possible while it's all open and I can access it. Not bad progress this afternoon. A few more jigsaw cuts there to avoid the beams. It is hard to film every time I do it, just because of, you know, avoiding falling through the ceiling and then trying to position the camera as well, so I just cracked on, and this is where we're up to. You can see it's taking shape. Right then, it has been much more than a minute since I was up here boarding out the loft. Obviously you won't know that. I really wanted to start working in the garage this weekend and getting that all damp proofed and boarded and storage built, etc. However, I've decided to start this new thing where I finish a job before I start a new one. So I'm actually back in the loft, plus it's really windy today, which you might hear, so I'd rather be working indoors, to be honest. We're very nearly done on this side, which you guys will know, but I still have this side to finish and then get some storage up here, because right now my spare bedroom is the dumping ground of all the stuff that is going to be going up here. So let's get cracking. Right, so that's the back stilts and metal beams installed, some timber midline beams with some cross support bars screwed in as well for extra support, and then the back stilts. I haven't slot the beam on yet. One will go across there and then here and here. So now I can get boarding. Actually, I can't. I need to roll back the insulation, pull over the extra insulation, and then I can get boarding so it looks a little something like this side. So yesterday all the beams were fitted for the boards to rest on, and then I rolled back all the loft insulation and slotted into all the gaps so it's lovely and insulated up there. And then I left it at that point because all the dust was obviously everywhere, and all the fibres which was sticking to my hair, that was all everywhere. So I thought, let that settle overnight and then head back up there, because wearing PPE fitting boards isn't really necessary, but it would have been if all them fibres were like floating about. So I'd rather go up there unmasked today and just lay the boards when there's no like fibres flitting about. Unfortunately it's raining, so I'm gonna have to cut my boards in the garage, and you will absolutely see why the garage is the next project, because it is just so unorganised and a dumping ground in here. So yeah, let's get cutting boards. I've only actually got a few, so I'll head to B&Q shortly as well and pick up some more. I'm not sure how easy it's going to be to show you laying the boards, because there's not many places to put the camera now, because I don't know where the beams are on the floor now that the insulation's down, so I can't like creep about like I was earlier. So we'll see how good video goes while I have to manoeuvre everything around this space. So maybe I'll just show you this bit and then try and do a time lapse for the other side. Because there's no jigsawing required. These are the harder ones when you've got to cut around the beams. Ready to repeat. Right, B&Q supply run it is for small boards and stainless timber. Let's go. So moving on to this bit. Obviously before I start making cuts into there, I want to figure out what I'm doing with the... Ow, my head. I need to figure out what I'm doing in this part as you step up from the hatch. So I've cut a bit of CLS, and what I'm thinking is that that can go across there as a final support as far as it can go. So then I'm utilising as much space as possible to bring the boards all the way to here, and then I'll put a flat edge down here and then just leave this single layer insulation, it's only the tiniest part, and bring a board across beam to beam so that there's still a place for the ladders to hook onto, and essentially a sort of very small step up point, because obviously these are quite high to get from here, you know, your leg all the way up onto there. So if I'm creating a sort of step here first and then up onto the main body of the storage, that's the idea. Right, now that that's in, I can come up, place two boards out and figure out where I want the cut off point to be so that they're the most sturdy, and then also cut out where I need to for the jigsaw. Right, so we'll have this right to the edge of here, and then the flat edge can butt up against there to hide the insulation, and I'll bring the length of it to the middle of that metal beam, the first metal beam, because then the other board can rest halfway on that metal beam and the end metal beam for support. So I need to make a jigsaw cut for this beam and a jigsaw cut for this beam. I have also kept my offcuts, so I'll be able to fashion that back in there. Obviously it'll hold no weight in, but it'll just make it look a bit better and stop the loss of anything if something was to, I don't know, drop down out of a storage box. Oh, a full one will fit there. However, this will be difficult because they need to slide in. So I wonder if we've got some give. Oh, maybe it's not enough. I have to lift up quite a few. See if I can slide it on. This is where I get really flustered and sweaty. Let's give it a go. What's the worst that could happen? Last couple of bits to do. Last of the cuts. So the part where you first step up off the ladders, I'm going to obviously tidy up a bit and then create that bottom step for you to step up onto, and also the same on the opposite side of the hatch. Just going to put a board there to tidy things up like that, and like this, and finally like this. So now that all the boards are laid, I fixed the light just using a sort of hook and chain, just in case I ever do want to move it in the future. So I'm just tidying up the wires because remember it's just going to drop down and plug into a plug socket once the hatch is open. So I'm just going to tidy these up now with some wire clips, and then sort of fashion a hook or something where the remaining wire that's going to drop out of the hatch hooks onto a side area or something, so that as soon as the hatch is open, just a few steps up the ladder, pull the wire off, plug in, and then the lights are on up here without needing an electrician to come up and install actual lights. And as you can see, it provides adequate lighting to see all the areas that I would need to see. So the wires will run underneath the boards and then come out at the bottom there to fall out of the hatch. To stop any stuff that I'm storing falling off the edges, what I'm going to do is just line the edges with some CLS, pin some scrap MDF that I had lying around. I mean, you can see it's scrap, it's been up against the wall, hence why it's so bored, but pinned against that will not make any difference. It's just literally to stop stuff falling off the edges. So this will literally get screwed into the ground all the way along, and then this will turn on its side and pin against there, and it just creates a nice neat edge to stop anything falling off. The loft storage all finished with a nice edge to stop any of the stuff that I'm storing up here falling onto the insulation. Obviously everything I've edged with is just scrap wood, hence it not being totally perfect, as you can see, but it does the job. I've added a hook as well, so when the wire for the light is wrapped up, it can hook on there until the hatch comes down and it needs plugging in again. Keep everything nice and tidy. And that's a wrap. So now that I'm done in there, obviously these just remove the telescopic, so easy storage in one of the bedrooms or in the garage, and then literally the light just unplugs, and then I'm just going to wrap it round and hang it from the hook that I installed. So Christmas has finally been put away. And to be honest, I thought it was going to take up a bit more than just that back corner. So I've still got all this room for more stuff. I mean, obviously I'm not going to totally overload it in case I end up with condensation or anything, or my ceiling falls through, whichever comes first. So that's a wrap, guys.